The camera work on this one is bound to be a little bit interesting. I'm going for a wider angle than I traditionally use for a vlog, and that's because I want to do this video standing up in bits. Now, a few months ago, this was back in November, I purchased a couple of canes from a fairly well-known, or at least well-publicized company in the blind visually impaired space. That is Awarewolf Gear. And Awarewolf Gear is a company that was founded by a guy who calls himself Sedona Dave, who was an avid hiker before losing his vision and wanting to have a way to still conquer the trails while using a white cane and while learning to cope with his own vision loss and being able to do so in a way that made sense to him. And so he designed a couple of canes that I wanted to take a look at and use for potential demonstration purposes. And so I have two to talk about today, and I'm putting them together for reasons that will become apparent as we start looking at both. So I'm actually going to do things in what make more sense, would make more sense, by the way, as reverse order. And that is, I'm going to start off with the newer of the two in terms of the company, and that is this guy right here, which is called the Urban Explorer. And that's spelled urban, I think, the traditional way, in X, spelled with an X for Explorer. And a lot of features present on this cane are going to be present on its big brother, but I wanted to start with this cane because it is most likely the most similar to any other cane that a lot of blind people may have used before. And I'll start with a visual rundown from top to bottom. So the top of the cane actually has a piece that I haven't really seen on a lot of other designs, and it's designed to keep the two pieces of bungee together. It's a plastic piece. So I do like that because it prevents the edges from getting frayed. So there's pro number one. You've got your knot for the loop at the top, and that helps keep the cane together when folded. Following the cord down, we have another knot, which is fairly typical at the top. This one was a little loose when I got the cane, so I had to yank it tight on my own, but I haven't had any issues with it since. And the top of the grip is a little more open, but again, I haven't seen any issues with the knot becoming, stuck in there or having any issues. So it's just a little bit of a difference compared to other canes I've used in the past. Now, the grip is made of an almost fabric-like material that does have what I believe might be a print W with a small logo. I don't even know if you're going to be able to see it from the camera where it's at, but it's made of this almost fabric-like material, and it's at the bottom of the grip that we find the headlining feature that sets Awarewolf Gear specific canes apart from their more standard brethren. That is this latch system. So if I go ahead and pop this latch out with my finger, there we go. And now I can lift the handle up, almost an additional cane section length, so that when I personally stand up, I get just about beard height here. And I actually was hoping to get the largest variant of the Urban Explorer, and due to a bit of a miscommunication with customer service, I ended up with the, I believe, the large instead of the extra large because they were waiting for back order, which I was happy to do, but something didn't happen. So I ended up with this one, and I took it with me to Virginia and used it as part of a program that I helped put together for a workshop down there. As we move down the cane, the joints are kind of this reinforced material. Putting the handle back down here. So the joints have this reinforced kind of plasticky feeling edge to them. I think there's visually a distinction color-wise as well, but they do feel really good because a lot of canes don't have these, and they kind of get scratched and dented fairly easily. I have found that most of the time with the Urban Explorer that hasn't happened. Taking the cane apart, we have a longer joint, which is fairly common in most white canes. But the top has this conical design that is more present in some of the newer Ambutech canes. But I'm a fan because as soon as it kind of gets up into its spot, it kind of starts to latch and finishes. So that conical design makes it easy for the cane to fit into itself, and I find that it's fairly easy to fold and unfold as the need arises. We're going to fold the cane along because nothing changes until we get to our second to last section, or our last section rather, which is this red section here. Again, fairly common feature. This is more for vehicle alertness and people kind of being aware that I can't see, and so it's colored a pretty bright red. And then at the end we find a rolling marshmallow that after some, this cane specifically I would say light to medium use, has seen some scratches but is still in decent shape. The entire cane is held together with two, trying to get a finger in there we go, two bungee cords. Again, fairly standard for most folding canes. I believe this cane specifically is made with some form of a titanium alloy, so it's fairly lightweight, but because of the folding handle and the marshmallow tip, I would say average, it is about as heavy as a standard aluminum folding cane in terms of length, or like arm feel when you're lifting it from the ground. It's not annoying, it's not burdensome necessarily, but it's not extraordinarily light, and I will get to more details on that specifically when I compare this to its big brother. Now, speaking of big brother, this is the flagship design of a cane that Awarewolf gear offers. And most of the features present on the Urban Explorer are present on the all-terrain cane as well, with a few notable changes and exceptions. So this time we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to flip up. We're going to go from top to bottom. Now, on this cane, same piece on the top and your loop and your knot at the top. This one, the top of the grip is fairly similar. You've got the Awarewolf gear logo or symbol of some kind here on the grip, the flat part of the grip. But what's different about the Urban Explorer is that it stops here. Now with the all-terrain cane, you have this completely rounded grip, and I don't know if it's showing on camera, but there's no flat section in the bottom, I'd say about 6 inches or so of the grip. And the reason for that is for the all-terrain cane to somewhat resemble a trekking pole for hiking. And at the bottom you've got your conical joint, and above that a latch. And so the all-terrain cane also snaps up. This one I tend to like a little bit better height-wise. I like a tall cane. This is right at my earlobe, or a little above my nose. I'm a fan of a taller cane that allows me to get more mileage and speed when I travel, especially independently. And so the all-terrain cane generally has a better feel that way, at least to me personally. So, I'm going to collapse the handle again. Fairly easy to do. You can also adjust both canes, like if I wanted to go here in between. The cane, as long as you make sure that the little screw piece here is screwed tight enough, it's not going to move on you once you adjust along the contingency. So if I wanted a shoulder height cane with the all-terrain, I definitely can have that. So, collapsing down. Very, very similar conical design and long joints, and the reinforced section is also present on this design. Now, what's different is that the wire, this is a piece of wire that might not even show up on camera, is a metallic feeling braided cable that is relatively thin, and I don't like the sounds it makes. It does that, it like has this weird scratchy noise that kind of makes me think that something is breaking, but I have never noticed any tactile like scratching or, you know, decaying of the joints at all, so that's a good thing. Now the unique thing with the all-terrain cane that can present a problem for me at times and for some folks is going to be that this cane only folds into 3 sections. If I take a look here at the Urban Explorer, we have 5. Now, I'm a fan of 6 to 7 section folding canes if I have to have a folding, because I want them to be compact and small enough to throw in a backpack, something like that. 5 works in a pinch. but because I like taller canes, it can be a bit of a problem. Now, a 5's a problem, 3 can be an outright struggle, and I'm holding this cane right now lengthwise with the tip on my left and the grip on my right. You're going to see it as the opposite, but I'm going to fold it. And here we go. This is all it is, folded. So it's still, from, I don't know, chin to waist in terms of, it's got to be, I don't know, 2.5 feet maybe. I don't know. I'm guessing on the measurement. And the other really unique thing with the all-terrain cane is that you've got your red section at the last section, and then this big jumbo roller that I believe is Sedona Dave's own designed roller tip. I hate roller tips. I hate them. I think they're heavy. I think they're really cumbersome. That being said, this guy, because it's a little bit lighter than your average jumbo roller, it's still about the size of a racquetball, maybe a little bit bigger, like a tennis, not quite tennis ball, it's a little extreme, but it's a good size jumbo roller, but it's light for what it is. And so what I find this cane particularly useful for are things like cobblestones, uneven streets. I was in Virginia for the trip that I was on, and the historical parts of the city had these cobblestone streets. When I went to Monticello, which I have a video on the channel, this thing fared pretty well throughout the terrain there. Now, the other unique thing is this cane, where a typical cane such as the Urban Explorer, when I'm ready to fold it, I bring the loop above the tip around the top section of the grip and down over the rest of the cane to hold it in place, and then the loop keeps it there. With the all-terrain cane specifically, I'm actually going to do this in reverse. So what I typically do is stick 2 fingers through the loop like this, almost like I'm getting ready to put in a hair tie, and then flip it, go down over the top of the grip, over the rest, pull it down, and now we're folded. And I will hold both up. So here on your left side, my right, is the the all-terrain cane. So 3 sections, jumbo roller, really long grip. And then on this side is the Urban Explorer, 5 sections, shorter grip, marshmallow tip, lighter weight. Now, what I tend to struggle with canes specifically is that there's not a lot of measurement for value, and I'm not going to pretend I have some magical system to figure it out. However, the Urban Explorer, other than the ability to adjust the height of the grip, which can be somewhat useful, though I tend to either use it one way or the other. So I will sometimes just get it out, and I've got about armpit height out of the box, and I'll use it like that if I'm just going somewhere quick, or if I don't need to be paying attention, or if I'm going for a longer trek, I will make it taller. But at that point, I might as well just get a taller cane if I want a taller cane. And so this cane, for the price, to me, is very comparable in a lot of ways to a lot of canes similar to it, and it tends to be more expensive. If I remember correctly, this cane, this being I'm going to mix them up, the whole video, the Urban Explorer, ran about $75 to $80, maybe more, and the all-terrain cane was around the $120 range. And for a cane, that's not a pittance. It's not cheap. And I do like the titanium. I like the lightweight. I would love to see this cane potentially with like a glide tip of some description. And I think that there's potential in kind of a redesign to make it even lighter and include a lighter tip and really, really focus on getting the weight down on this. And it would be a really solid contender for a beatable urban cane. As it is, I have lots of other canes that I think are fairly comparable, or have been in my time using them. So for me, this is okay. If you really like the idea of having a collapsible handle, I would encourage you to look at it. However, if you're going to go that far, and you don't mind the slight inconvenience of having less sections, because this cane is also meant to be a support cane when need be for hiking. I've now switched to holding the all-terrain cane. I think for the money and for the content that Awarewolf gear offers, the all-terrain cane gives you all of the benefits of their designs specifically. And again, there are specific drawbacks, such as only 3 sections. This is a very niche cane. I did struggle with it a little bit on an airplane in terms of getting it into the seat pocket enough that they would let me keep it there. But I really like this thing for what it is. It's durable. It definitely has lived up to some decent testing. I believe this cane only comes in one size, which isn't my favorite. I would still prefer a little bit taller and maybe a 4-section cane. But overall, if you're only going to get one cane from Awarewolf gear, I highly recommend considering this guy right here, and that's the all-terrain cane. So I've done my best to talk about these in my own use cases. Now, I work primarily indoors, and I find my way around the building pretty well. With any and every cane that I have swapped out quite a bit and tested various things, and this is an okay indoor cane. It's not bad outdoors either. It's kind of an all-rounder that I find fairly comfortable, and I realize I'm not holding this as you're supposed to hold a cane, and I haven't been, because I want you to get a look at it. So while I do my outro here, do this. And again, canes are so subjective. Everything in the blind community is really subjective. And for me personally, out of all the canes that I have tried, tested, and used over my 27 years, 24-ish of them using a cane, this one is pretty solid. Is it life-changing? I think if you are, again, an avid hiker, you're someone who's outdoors, you're someone who encounters a lot of terrain, and you've been really unhappy with the way that canes have performed for you, this might be worth a try. If you are someone like me who has a fairly predictable lifestyle and you are reasonably content with most canes, I don't think you need it, but if you'd like to and you have the disposable income for it, why not? But if you're someone who just doesn't have any notion of using this in any challenging terrain or any situations that may be unpredictable that way, I would say that for you it might not make sense. But I think we as a community need to come together and talk about products, talk about what works and why. And I don't think there's a lot of space for that. So I should have said this at the top of the video. None of this is sponsored. I bought all of these canes with my own money. That's just a look at this all-terrain cane and the Urban Explorer from Awarewolf gear. If you have any questions, comments, queries, theories, concerns, or anything else, I'm happy to answer them the best I can in the comments down below. So with all of that said, one thing I think I should start doing is describing what I'm wearing, because there's a great channel called Gentleman's Gazette, and they do all this stuff about classic fashion, and then they describe what they're wearing, and I feel like I need to get better at that. So today, I threw on my PWHL Minnesota. This was the Minnesota Frost before they were the Minnesota Frost jersey. Over the jersey, I have a sweater that my fiance made for me that is blue and teal and kind of a cream colored, so I'm definitely kind of feeling the wintry, cozy vibe a little bit here. But thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if you have any questions, comments, queries, theories, or anything else, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comment section down below, and we will see you soon. Peace.